This allowed brewers, for the first time, to brew fresh beer all year long.
Freed from nature's bonds, the beer barons eagerly expanded their empires across the country. During the Industrial Revolution, American business underwent the greatest transformation in the nation's history. Factories churned out textiles, paper, and steel. Mechanization replaced hand labor. The Transcontinental Railroad connected distant cities. The beer barons were quick to embrace this new wave of innovation.
When Anheuser-Busch, Pabst, and Schlitz were the three largest breweries, not just in the United States, but in the world, these were marvels of mechanization. If you walked into one of their factories by the middle of the 1880s, you would find very few people relative to the size of the plant because so much of it had already been mechanized. They embraced every opportunity that that age gave them, and they became justifiably world famous.
Brewers took advantage of breakthroughs in precision-made glass and built high-speed bottling lines. Beer could finally be shipped in affordable, easy-to-carry containers.
In this way, a brewery was able to reach beyond the neighborhood and beyond that growler of beer that went home and sell to tens of thousands of people that had never heard of them before.
By 1890, beer was the most popular alcoholic beverage in the nation. The largest brewers, Frederick Pabst and Adolphus Busch, turned their reputations for quality and their business expertise into vastly increased sales. Almost 1 million barrels a year.
They understood intuitively that consistency is a secret to any brewery success. You can't turn out a beer that tastes like X on Monday and tastes like something completely different on Friday. Customers won't come back the second time.
That is the challenge of any brewer, is to have their process, their techniques, beer stability, beer quality consistent from batch to batch.
A lot of brewers in the world right now are putting a lot of money into instrumentation where you can actually look at every barrel of beer going by in a line. Instead of looking at a bulk tank after you filled it, we're watching every barrel of beer using instruments in the line to feed really critical information back so that we can make automatic adjustments as we're brewing.
We can rattle off names like gas chromatography, olfactometry, things like that, coupled to fast atom bombardment. But what these kind of machines do is that these are going to be able to more accurately measure some of those components in beer. Having said that, nothing ever takes away from actually tasting the beer.
It's very important for beer consumers to understand that they taste at a level 1,000 times more accurately than the most sophisticated laboratory instrument we can buy today.
You have to have people who are trained, sensory panelists. They will taste it and say, yes, it's within that acceptable window that we're looking for.
When we're doing this, we're kind of like judging a beer, just like we do at the festivals when we go. Only we're doing it on a daily process in the brewery. So tasting, tasting, tasting. And I'm not talking about drinking. Drinking beer is lots of fun, we all do it, but tasting in the brewer's art is the most important job they do.
I started brewing about 8.5 years ago. It's just a chance to be very creative. Some people look at it as microbiology and other forms of science, but a lot of us just look at it as cooking. I'm making a Belgian triple, which is a strong Belgian beer. It's flavored with orange peel, coriander. There's some Belgian candy sugar in it. That also gives it a unique flavor. I'm pretty much doing the same thing that commercial breweries are doing. I'm just doing it on a much smaller scale. I like to add oddball ingredients. I've used fruit, I've used spices, I've used spruce tips from actual spruce trees, which people thought was weird until they actually tried it. This is what I call the Newfie Bud Brewery. This is my brewing room. I named it after one of my dogs. It's where all my fermentation happens. I have about 12 carboys going with various beers, meads, and wines. Okay, this is the skeleton in my closet. This is actually where I keep a lot of my finished stuff. There's a lambic that I made about 2 years ago. I mean, I could drink it, but they do get better with age. And this is one of the many yeast they use in Belgium. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add it right into it. Well, in my home brewing club, we have everyone. We have accountants, we have lawyers, doctors. A lot of college students are doing it now. A lot of the home brewers I know, they do have a lot of old-fashioned values. And maybe the home brewing is a part of that.
Between 1860 and 1900, beer consumption in America increased 400%. As lager-loving masses flocked to their local taverns, breweries flourished.
What brewers would do is buy a corner property and then actually build a building and open a saloon. But that saloon keeper would only sell Rupert beer or only sell Schlitz beer or only sell Christian Moorline beer.
They were called tied houses, and saloons would be tied to a particular brewing company and often owned or financed by that brewing company. The saloon proliferated. There came to be lots of saloons. There were communities that had one saloon for every 80 people. That's men, women, and children. Now, that's lots of saloons. And it's pretty hard to make a living in the saloon business when you have that much competition. And so the saloons also became locales where there was prostitution, gambling, various kinds of unwholesome activities.
The spread of prostitution and the venereal diseases contracted in these saloons that were more than saloons brought home into the family. That was one of the big spurs of the campaign against the consumption of alcohol.
The reformers who wanted prohibition used all kinds of techniques to rally people. Some of the most dramatic occurred in large parts of the United States where women who couldn't vote went out and held prayer vigils and demonstrated in front of saloons, asking the saloon keepers to leave the business.
Carrie Nation, one of the most familiar names from that period, was really something of an aberration. She was frankly a nutcase, but she was a really interesting headline-making nutcase. She went into saloons with a hatchet and did what she called hatchetation. She smashed them up. And she had followers who did the same thing.